Yeah, thanks everyone for coming. This was kind of last minute, so it wasn't something that we promoted very early in. However, you might notice some back of us, we got some banners. It says Mining Disrupt, and I'll give you a little history on that. BlokTech was a pioneer on a conference that was happening regularly about a year ago called Disrupt, right? And so that show is unique in its own, whereas a lot of introductory blockchain techs and startups are basically wanting to pitch, wanting to learn, and the community is wanting to go out there and get into it because of the FOMO, because of the fact that you don't know and you want to be able to be educated and be part of something big, right? So what we did this year was that I came into it from the mining aspect, and when I got involved, I didn't know much about blockchain, but I knew that mining was something that was technically sticky to me, right? And so I got involved, and just like Gabe got involved from the mining aspect of it, it's a big world. It's like there's a divide between minting crypto and blockchain as a tech, right? So what we did was we came up with a concept where we would hybrid a conference based on both, right? So mining as minting, creating a blockchain, and then the other aspect of it where people don't necessarily want to mine, but they want to incorporate blockchain into their business, right? So it's a really unique conference, and it's happening July 24th in Miami, right down the street, right at the Airport Convention Center. And so I invite you guys to check out the website, invite you guys to talk to us, and in general, this is going to be an event that we're going to be having every month until the date of the event, and we're going to be hosting it here, and thanks to Gabe. And so we are very receptive and open to talk about the aspects that some of you guys are familiar with and things that you're not, like mining. We want to be able to say, hey, talk to us about mining. You want to get into it, but you have no idea. This is what mining is about. This is how easy it is. This is how you incorporate it. It's really great, you know what I mean? So that's what we're here for, and thank you.
Yeah, and just to a little bit elaborate about that story. So BlokTech is one of the sponsors of Mining Disrupt, and last year we hosted Extra Disrupt, one of the series in it, and we had around 130 people show up to the event. We had a lot of local companies. Bit5 Hive is one of the biggest mining facilities in Florida and everywhere in the world. But we also have a lot of other companies like Vista at the event. But for this event, Mining Disrupt, we're expecting some of the biggest players in the mining industry, but also the blockchain industry itself. We have people from Obelisk Mining, we have people from Bitmain, and all other stuff like that. We have people from Sia Coin, List, ARC, etc. But also disruptive companies that will be debuting their first products and services, first time ever in public. So I'm not talking about just random ICOs. I'm talking about companies that are venture fund backed, have a lot of capital, and they're going to be the next household brands that you hear, similar to how Coinbase, Gemini, and all the other big brands you see, BitPay and stuff like that. We vet them very thoroughly, and a lot of them are backed by the same backers that backed up Coinbase and stuff like that. So they're debuting at our event themselves. Obviously, we want to see the Miami support. Also, being a sponsor of this event, BlokTech is giving out 50% discounts to everyone attending this event. You receive an email about it. But on top of that, we'll be raffling away some tickets to show our appreciation, courtesy and paid for by BlokTech itself. Before we say, Fernando, do you have anything to say?
No, not really. Does anybody have any questions for us? No? Oh, all right.
Yes, I have to break the ice.
Yeah. Break that.
For us small miners, more like aficionados than aliens, for some of us, I feel pretty lucky that it's still on because honestly, every single one of my friends mining are up right now. They're disconnected. And like everybody and their mothers do. And I was like, shoot. So I feel lucky, but I was just checking, and I think I'm making maybe 16 cents a day in some of these machines, which is pretty ridiculous because it's less than $5 a month. It was a point that it was at least covering the electricity, but I just figured it out just right now. I may be losing some money every month, I have a great deal, but even at that great deal, I can't survive. I just did the numbers. So people ask me why I still mining, and I say, well, I invested all this money and all this time, and I really believe in the projects. I was pretty excited, so I'm gonna quit it, I guess. I'm just fighting this shit. And I have a lot of money. I spend more in this mine than I spend in any car, and I'm a car guy. So, you know, when you look at it that way, it's like, shit, I really believe in this, honestly, you know. Or maybe I want to buy me a big house with it or something, I don't know. But I was very excited, I invested money, I still mining, you know. I see people, every time I got a phone call with someone in the industry or mining around me, he said, hey, listen, if you don't have something good to tell me, just talk about something else. Don't just call me and say, listen, why are you still mining? It's ridiculous. This, that. Leave me alone. If you know something I should know so I can make more money, just call me. Not just, man, just stay away from me, please. And so they call me and say, listen, you know, now they come up with a miner, the S9, no, there's an X99 with, I don't know, 100 terahashes. And listen, leave me alone. How has changed my life? I mean, I'm mining what I have. I don't have a budget right now to buy the new equipment, so I will just survive. So what I'm betting on, honestly, at this point, is I'm just holding my coins. You know, I'm lucky maybe that I can just keep the coins, and because most people were selling the coins to pay the electricity bill, they got caught up in that wheel and they're out of business very quickly. So since I'm very little, you know, I have very cheap electricity, so I get to keep my coins, you know, with a little investment every month.
Right.
So I'm betting on the projects, and when something happened, like just happened in the last 3-4 days, I mean, it feels pretty cool because I said, well, it looks like I got, after 2 years, I got like 20% back on my investment. So, but it's better than, you know.
Yeah.
And so again, all these feelings about maybe a Bitcoin being worth $100 grand or whatever it is. People talk about $1 million, but I never believed. But I said, listen, if we get $100,000, listen, we're gonna be pretty happy. So how do you guys see this? I mean, because we're betting on more than mining, because it feels like something's gonna happen. It's gonna change the way we're doing it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you guys know something you can tell us.
Yeah, so a little thing that I didn't mention was, because we wanted to focus the track more on what we're doing, what we're building out. I mean, we're local, so the advantage is that we kind of huddle, technically speaking, physically at a location that makes sense, that invites a conversation on mining, invites a conversation on blockchain. Some of you guys might not have the mining background, but it doesn't hurt to question and ask and see and touch the machines and try and figure out how that even plays into.
It's a backbone of
Everyone gets into crypto in a different aspect. Not everyone gets into crypto with the same mentality. Like, you know, I got into it because I wanted to make money. You know, I typed in Google one day, make money, and somehow I ran into an article about mining, and I'm like, mining gold? That's not me. But no, it was mining the blockchain. And so that's how I got started over 2 years ago. And then interesting story was that I'm an entrepreneur at heart, so I've been working for myself for the last 10 years, luckily. And I say that because being a startup is not easy. And so when I got involved in mining, I found it really hard to network with people or ask questions to the right people without getting scammed or ripped off, right? Because you can trust anyone. 2 years ago, talking about mining, and the machines were selling for like $6,000 each. It was like really scary because you would have a lot of machines and you'd be like, I don't want to tell that guy, I don't trust that guy. You know, they were basically selling for their weight in gold. So the interesting thing about mining is that, like you mentioned, is that you might be mining and not really making money for a year, but the moment that the volatility is in your favor, then the machines are back to profitability, and then the machine can be resold for an exponential amount more than what they were worth before. So the interesting thing about that is that there's an awesome resale market for this all the time, and there's the tariffs right now for import are making that possible. Because the machines that are in the U.S. soil now are worth 25% more, right? Just because of the tariffs. So there's a phenomenon, there's a lot of industries within mining that don't necessarily have to do with mining. You got resale, right? You got infrastructure, like hosting, power infrastructure, consulting. You know, you got a lot going on there. And it's interesting for you guys to learn about that. So that's why it's super important that there's always blockchain meetups and conferences and stuff, but what creates the blockchain is mining. Primarily, number one, you know, so minting the crypto and everything around it is all synergetic, and that's what, you know, to answer your question, I kind of did, but essentially there's more to it. You know, you have to look at profitability per machine, per coin, you know, and then be able to flip the hardware as soon as you see that you're going down, so you can buy the next best thing if you want to stay on top all the time. We could talk about that more.
And also there was a phenomenon where that big bull run of 2017, people bought really expensive equipment, you know? So it was just out of hand. One machine was making, you know, over $1,000 a month. That was unheard of. So people were like investing $6,000, $7,000 on a machine. And then, you know, everybody gets in the network, difficulty increases, price goes down, and you're stuck with a machine that's making, you know, instead of 1,000, it's making 100. Right? So you have to also be careful, not get caught up in the FOMO and all this, you know, this bull runs and stuff like that. You have to be, you know, smart about your investment and always look for cheap electricity, always the best deals possible to, you know, looking forward for when there's a bear market like we just had. Like right now, the ones that are still here are survivors of this really, you know, really difficult bear market. But, you know, I've known people that have still running 20,000 machines, still profitable even in the bear market because they secured like really cheap electricity and they did it the right way. So as any investment you have to do, you have to always look at all the options and just be really careful.
And also, since we're talking about different things, we want to invite everyone here. Even if we haven't had a chance to talk to you guys, we want to invite you and your friends, people that have not come out, people that don't know anything about it. And the interesting thing is, this is the worst thing that bothers me. Like, I mean, you can ask 5 random people, your family members, right? Go home and ask 5 random people, say, hey, can you tell me what Bitcoin is? And if you can't get one out of those 5 to tell you what Bitcoin is, it's true testament that it's that early in the market. And the awareness is very small, very, very little, and not to mention everything else that follows. Because if they can't explain what Bitcoin is, then the awareness is too premature still. So it's just, we're in the, you know, the incubation phase of crypto as a whole. And I think that, you know, what's to come is the unification of the people that want to make this happen. You get me? And it all starts here. It starts with these meetups. It starts with growing this out and then getting you guys profitable. You know, with our knowledge and with our ability to get you guys network with the right people is to make you guys profitable. Like you were saying, you know, there's more to just mining and staying there with those machines. There's a lot you can do. And those things, you know, we'll talk about and share our experience. There's so many things that you can reinvent the way you do mining. Many different ways. It's interesting.
Any other questions?
Questions?
Actually, I'm for the BlokTech person.
Both.
Either one. So, piggyback to what you're saying is, I'm a miner. I'm also into technology. I used to be a programmer many years ago. I even started internet companies back in the 90s, and I could see this going that direction. We had this discussion just a little while ago.
Yeah.
And I see this mass adoption just going to increase as time goes by. I see it. So there's what I see, and I come to both ends, is I see the miners, and I see the programmers and the entrepreneurs. If it wasn't for the miners, you won't have this possibility for us to have blockchain to where we can develop software and do the things that's going to be into the business ecosystem. So the miners are usually not people that are going to be programmers, and they're giving us the possibility to have this blockchain. So then we build this ecosystem for business to use the blockchain, and guess what happens? The coins that you guys mine increase. So we all need each other. Right. My question for blockchain is, you know, it's not necessarily to mining as much as you see, and not just that, you created, he was just talking about he does auditing for smart contracts. I thought I said that 3 years ago, but well, what contracts are smart? We don't know what we're talking about. It creates all this new technology, not stuff that we know, stuff that we already know that's happening now, stuff that we haven't thought of yet. It's already coming. So what have you seen in the last couple of, let's say 6 months, have you seen this increased need in your services as far as what you do for BlokTech, which is, I believe you audit?
So BlokTech itself is a business-to-business community builders. So basically what we do is that we host the events. There's 3 phases, right? The first one is community building. We've got to build a strong community, have people there, foster ideas, foster entrepreneurship, foster businesses. And then we move to phase 2, which is where we start connecting those businesses together, whether through a marketplace or whatever you want to do. That's our long-term goal. It's a 30-year plan for BlokTech. People think that we're just event hosting, but in reality, we're trying to build a community. We're fostering ideas, trying to establish that first layer of that foundation businesses based on blockchain. It's very popular, and our format is very easy to use, that we're in multiple locations. We're not just Miami, we're in Atlanta, North Carolina, we're in Los Angeles, Venezuela actually, Chile, and we just expanded to Shenzhen, China. There's an appeal for it. There's a need for community building, right? People want to connect. Businesses, entrepreneurs, and ideas need to connect you, right? I bet you met someone else that is in some different business in the blockchain industry that you never even knew about today at this event, or you're learning new things just through this, and that's what we're trying to build. Specifically to mining, like a lot of you guys are new entrepreneurs in mining, like you don't have the startup capital. What if you connect with the big industry titans like Avalon, Bitmain, all the other stuff that are at our conference or at our meetups? You can be a way ahead advantage than what we would have started when we first started out. We don't have the connections when we first started, but now we're building those connections for you guys, so that way you can be a part of this network and also grow faster from that. As for your question, what business and needs that I've seen grow in the last 6 months, it's hard to say because I'm not in every single industry, but I think for me specifically was, I guess, hacking in general, testing all these software and all these blockchains in general, finding there any loopholes, any vulnerabilities, especially in the application layers itself, like smart contract adding, that's more like my niche. But there's a lot of things when you create a software or a system, there's always going to be holes, right? And you got to find those holes. That's something that I figured out that is a very good business niche. Maybe you guys can answer, but for me, that's what I think is, when there's an existing system, there's always going to be weaknesses, and if you can find those weaknesses, you create yourself a business, and you got to figure out if that makes you money or not. You guys have any?
No, I think you answered that well. I will add one thing though. I've noticed that we're very early in the market. We all know that. A lot of people don't know what mining is at all. There's not a lot of companies in all the countries that are creating mining machines, mining rigs. There's not that many Bitmains. What I've noticed is there's a lot of people, let's say in China, that are trying to sell certain things, but they have nobody to sell to. There's a lot of people in the States that are trying to sell things. They don't know who to sell to. The internet has opened a lot of things for us as far as being able to communicate with other people, but blockchain is so new, and a lot of people don't even advertise or state that they're doing these types of things. So how do people know to engage them? They don't. So filling holes and bridging gaps, I think, is definitely something that is a need and has increased recently, especially with the current run.
And then just to add on top of that, like if I knew businesses to start and what the industry needed, I would be way well off right now. So, but it's something that you will find just going to these meetups, connecting with people in the industry. If you're just at home or you're just doing your own thing, maybe you'll stumble into bringing news, stuff like that. But in reality, meeting with people, engaging with people, and finding out their problems, and you think of an idea. Like, you're an entrepreneur, you know what it is like. So for me personally, that's what I found through my interactions with people. You can talk to other people, maybe they have some problems that you need to, but if there's a need, there's always someone willing to find a solution for it, and someone to pay for that solution. But yeah, any other questions? Or?
So like one of the points that Robin mentioned was, you know, a year ago when I got involved, like all my peers, none of my peers had any idea what Bitcoin or blockchain or mining was about. So the hardest thing for me as an entrepreneur, and the reason why I'm here today as a continued entrepreneur, is that communities were really hard to find. Like, again, I can't stress it enough. Like, you talk to people selling machines, and 90% of the time they're out to rip you off and take your money. You'll never see them. You pay them by crypto, and you never get your machine, or you get a brick in a box. And the story is echoed, you know, a million times online. You know. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I want to do a story. You want me to tell a story or not?
I'm not gonna tell the story.
Can I tell it?
Yeah.
Okay. So a while back, like Gabe said, when the prices were going up, I previously bought a whole bunch of, I guess, ASIC miners, right? And the prices were going up really high. Fernando here, my business partner, he was getting into mining, and he wanted, just going back on what Michael Cruz said, he wanted to buy one of these machines, and it was really hard to find someone you trust, right? And Fernando himself got scammed, and he lost, I don't know how much he lost, but he lost money. And a testament in saying that we have changed so much since then, right? There are communities that are verified, right? You ask this guy, hey, does he actually do good business? And you have a community that backs all those people who sell, resell, manufacturing, stuff like that. It verifies you, right? We haven't really created an official system, but there's an unofficial system that's growing stronger and stronger that's verifying all these sellers, buyers, and all that stuff like that. So that way, the future people, the people who are investing, new miners, new entrepreneurs in mining itself, the small guys don't have to stumble across these roadblocks that we did. So yeah.
Let me just finish what I was going to say. So based on that example where they got ripped off, where I've been ripped off multiple times as well, and it just makes you stronger as an entrepreneur. Sometimes you can't recover because it might be that was your $5,000 that you had saved up and you were going to buy a couple machines and you got ripped off and there you go. But some cases turn out pretty in your favor. And to cut to the chase and to what I was going to say was I started a community a year and a half ago called Blockchain Association of Miners. And it's a Telegram group that's public, that's free for everyone to join. And that group right now has about 1,800 plus members all over the world. Some of those members are high net influencers, CEOs of manufacturers. For example, the top netting ASIC manufacturer in the world is a company called Obelisk, and they're a US manufacturer of ASICs. The CEO's name is David, he's a friend. He's in the group. So it's a really unique group. It's public, meaning you guys can go on Telegram, download the app, and then join. You do a search for Blockchain Association of Miners, and you join. And then I'm always there. Gabe is there. Gabe is also part of another group, and he's part of my group. But essentially, it's a lot of new guys coming into the space, a lot of new people coming in, but then there's a lot of old school people that are there. We don't allow spam. We filter out all that. So you're able to really get help and questions and connect with real people. It's a very unique community, and at the same time, we've been lucky to partner up with BlokTech because they're entrepreneurs and community building. So it was a 1 + 1 = 3 when we got together to build the Miami's own yearly, disrupt crypto mining conference. So I mean, that's something that we want to contribute to everyone, and everyone you guys know, so that it's a place that is going to happen every year and it's going to grow, and you guys have the ability to have the stage to be able to talk, to be able to tell us, hey, we want to be able to talk about this, or help us expose our startup. This is what we're for.
And just to add on top of that, nowhere in the world, in any other industry, you could be in a public group with executives from up-and-coming industries, right? From big companies in this industry. Nowhere in the world, I bet you that, you can be in a public group with multiple of them. In our group, BlokTech Networks on Telegram, we have the CIO of Puerto Rican government. I was invited to him to talk about blockchain implementation in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, especially after the Hurricane Irma. We have a lot of people, Brock Pierce there, a lot more in our groups itself. All these big celebrities, some I'm not really proud of, but David McAfee. But we have all these big people in the industry, Charlie Lee and all these other stuff in our groups because they're there, right? They're just a part of it. We meet them through our networking, and they love the community. We love what they're doing. They're pushing forward. Even in the mining industry, you have all these big giants in there, executives, people who are spearheading this industry, and nowhere in the world where you can connect with these people and just simply send them a question. So I really encourage you guys to get more involved in it. We're here in Miami. This is our home base. Gabe Cruz is here too. But yeah, we really want to see you guys at this event if you can. If not, all our monthly meetups. We're involved with all the other big ones too. I forgot the names in Miami, but excited to see you guys more. Feel free to ask more questions. But
we wanted to make it an incentive for everyone that made it out. The tickets are going for $199. So we're happy to give you guys 50% off the price. Just mention it to us. We have a discount code that we'll give you guys. You can reach any one of us at any time online, right? And take advantage of it because we're not doing it in general.
All right, so I know there are a couple other questions, but I don't want to bore everybody with the questions. My beer is done, so therefore the questions are done. What we'll do now is we'll open up the floor so everybody can do what we did before and just keep networking. If you guys want to engage us or anybody else here, if you have anybody specifically that you'd like to speak to, I'm looking for somebody in logistics. I'm looking for somebody in Puerto Rico or DR or different things, feel free to reach out. Other thing, last thing I'm going to mention, we did order some food, so we've got some pizza coming in about 20 minutes. So, FYI. Yeah?
I guess one more question.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Is it Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin going to survive, and why?
Ooh, that's a tough question. So, personally, I'll give my...
I guess we could all answer it.
Yeah, we can all answer. So this is definitely not financial advice. I will go ahead and premise it with that. My personal opinion is that, and I'm assuming everybody's going to give their personal opinion on this. So for me, Bitcoin is a store of value. So it could be the gold to the dollar. So I do believe Bitcoin will be here for the long haul, personally. There's a lot of things out there as far as what happens when it stops mining, or what happens when the last coin is mined. Will the network still be up there? Are they going to shift, kind of like what Ethereum is doing, to combination POS, POW? I personally feel that Bitcoin does have a use case to be here for a while. I do feel that Litecoin could be the dollar to that platform, essentially. So maybe Litecoin being faster can be used for day-to-day transactions, whereas Bitcoin can be the backing of that Litecoin value, kind of like how the dollar is backed by somewhat gold now. As far as Ethereum, I do believe Ethereum has a use case, but not so much as a store of value, but more so as a store of an object. So thinking of smart contracts, relationships between people, cars, properties, things like that. Was there another coin that you mentioned?
Basically, those three, because they were the ones that get me into the crypto space.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, all $25 coins. And I say, unfortunately, you know what I mean.
Yes.
I, as a mistake, invested 23 Bitcoins into a project called 10X. My intention was to put it two Bitcoins. And I don't know what happened when I find out it was too late, because I got caught up, so I lost.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going anywhere. I follow the guy on Instagram, and he makes me very upset every week. But anyways, I don't want to go there. So basically, those three, because I just wanted to know your opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean, last thing I'll say before I pass this off. I do think that the three use cases for those coins is suitable. I do think that they can last a while as far as the long haul and be used in our day-to-day. I think BTC is a little bit harder based on the speed of the transaction, so I think that's why something might come in and alleviate the speed of those transactions, because everybody always wants something better, faster, newer for some odd reason, even if things are working. But I do also feel like there could potentially be another coin that comes in that disrupts the market, and that coin may not exist now. I don't think so either. But I feel like all the pain points we're going through now are going to lead to that point, that coin, whatever it might be, whether it's proof of work, proof of stake. But I do think it's coming sooner rather than later, and it's going to be a game changer. It might even be like BAT. BAT is big, and I have a lot of coworkers now that they don't know anything about blockchain, they don't know anything about cryptocurrency, but they care about their privacy, and they care that there's a website that exists that can't spam, and it can't spam them with advertisements, and can protect what they're searching. So without even knowing blockchain and crypto, I mean, it's providing people a solution, and it's paying them in cryptocurrencies too. So I like that concept. I think there's going to be something else that comes out after that that kind of mirrors that, and also can be added to that list. But I personally hold those three coins too, and about 50 other ones.
Okay, so I'm gonna give an unpopular opinion. So basically, I don't think Ethereum and Litecoin are gonna last in the long run. I think Bitcoin is gonna be long, I guess very long, until to the end of time, I think so. Because it's proven, it's been tested. I think Litecoin itself is just literally a ripoff of Bitcoin. It's like the silver to the dollar, right? Ethereum itself, why do we need a crypto for building apps, right? Why can't we just Why can't Ethereum just be like Hyperledger? Why do you need a coin attached to it? That's what I'm trying to say. But Bitcoin itself, if you ask me like 2010 when I started, or when even 2 years ago, I would not have said Bitcoin. The reason why it changed is that there's just too much in the market, right? It's good for competition, it kills off each other and stuff like that. But in reality, it just confuses people, right? It confuses new beginners, it makes things more complicated. In reality, what we really need is the ideals of Bitcoin, right? Decentralization, so it's always, it's like a deflationary kind of currency. And the ideals and the purpose of Bitcoin actually will stand to test of time, which is why I believe Bitcoin will last a lot longer than the other ones. The other ones are usually private companies, and that goes against what everyone is yearning for, right? We have a global debt that's literally trillions of dollars, just personal debt, not accounting for like all other stuff. It's just a lot of things that people are yearning, and you're going to see in the upcoming years, right? We have a bull run in general on the stock market, real estate, all these economies, right? But it's been going for 10 years, guys. Like, when is the next thing, right? When is the next collapse? And there are signs of it, right? People are struggling. Maybe not you guys, but people in rural areas, the Midwest, are struggling. And what are you going to tell them when their dollar or their currency can't get anything? You're going to see something you see in like Venezuela. But it won't be as bad as compared to the United States, because we have all these social problems. But there is something that's happening, right? And I think what Bitcoin stands for is more the ideals, and that's why it's going to last a lot longer than just all these, it has a good use case, you can make apps on it, you can play games and stuff like that, which is cool, don't get me wrong. It gets you by on day-to-day thing. But what people look for is something that keeps them security, and I think that's what Bitcoin gives us. So, yeah.
I think my point of view is more analytical from what I know. There's over 1,000 different coins, right? The three you mentioned might be the top three, but they're all striving to be the currency of the world, right? They're all striving to be better than the next one that's above that, right? And although some of them have very different features, for example, Monero is a completely anonymous coin for anonymous transactions, whereas Bitcoin is completely auditable and transparent, which makes it good for auditing purposes and for having transparency, whereas Monero is totally different. I know it's not the coin you mentioned, but to summarize my point of view is that I would answer it objectively based on my focus. I think my answer would be, as a miner, I really don't have personal attachments to particular coins. I have attachment to my money. So like when I say I'm going to spend $50,000 on a mining investment, my focus is objectively, number one is to make my return on investment, right? So I come into it and I see all these coins and I figure this is like the gold rush. Like I gotta go and dig gold out of the ground, but not really. I gotta find the right place to figure out where the utility is gonna yield me the best potential for long-term mining and profitability. And then I gotta find the right machine and find the right coin. So whether I'm mining Bitcoin or Litecoin or Ethereum, to me, as a miner, my answer is it gonna survive? I hope so, but am I gonna survive? You know what I mean? Primarily. Like, am I gonna be able to survive my $50,000 investment? Well, that's my answer. Like, at the end, I think, looking at it abstractly, we don't know the future, right? But all these coins are competing against each other no matter what. But the granddaddy of them all is Bitcoin. Everything else is a fork of a fork of a fork, and everything else is umbrella below that. And when you see Bitcoin go up like it is now in a bull run, you're going to see the orchestra of all the other coins go up with it. And this is a happening trend all the time. So that's a good thing, because if Bitcoin goes up, 90% of the time the other coins go up too. When Bitcoin goes down, those coins suffer immensely, all the alts, So yeah, I think so far they're alive and they're the top three. So you have a better chance of those top three sitting up there for quite a while. Okay, they have good worth, and they're global, so no one can turn them off. It's not that easy. You can't turn them off. That's why it's decentralized. It's global. Like you can shut off a continent, and they're everywhere else. It's distributed globally. So that's the advantage of them not disappearing anytime soon.
Thank you.
Bitcoin Cash.
It's a different story. I'm a little in line with what Fernando said. I believe that Bitcoin will become a store of value, and that some other coin will step up as the means of transactions. Not sure if it's Litecoin or it could be one that hasn't been invented as well. I do believe that Bitcoin has a big step ahead of all the other ones right now because people don't even say cryptocurrencies. People just say Bitcoin. You know, sometimes I have to tell them I own a Bitcoin mining store, not a cryptocurrency mining store. Which I mean, some of these machines don't mine Bitcoin; they mine other coins. But you know, that's too technical for the majority of people right now. They just think Bitcoin, Bitcoin-related products, whatever. So they have the awareness, the brand, and it's going to take a while for another coin to be at that level. So I think Bitcoin will stay king for a long time. But eventually, if there's huge adoption like we all expect, and cryptocurrency becomes the means of transactions, we'll probably either Bitcoin will have to go through a phase where a lot of improvements on speed and all that, or some other coin will step up. And I also do believe that at least 90% of the current coins will disappear. I think they're worthless, most of them. So that's just my take on it.
So we might want to sell our bags.
Bitcoin Cash.
All right, I'll do a little quick thing. So a little bias here, a little bit disclaimer. I'm friends with Roger Vera. He funded one of our events in Atlanta. We did a Bitcoin Cash workshop, and we gave away like $300 worth of Bitcoin Cash and setting up wallets and stuff like that. But I think forks in general are good for the community, not in a sense that it divides the community, but in a sense that it challenges ideals, right? It really tests the community. Is your community actually strong? Are the ideals really good, or they're flawless, right? I think having the freedom to do that is great. I don't have anything against Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV. What are these other hard forks, right? I think it's all good for the community in the long run, right? But yeah, that's my opinion on Bitcoin Cash. But
You think they have a chance to survive?
yeah.
On which one of those?
For what?
Bitcoin Cash, because now the BCC, BSB,
it's confusing.
Yeah.
It's already confusing enough for the regular folks.
The bit-
Put all these forks in. It's
Bitcoin Cash core fundamental advantage over Bitcoin Core is that Bitcoin Cash has a quicker transaction time. So like when you buy this cup with Bitcoin, you're sitting there waiting for those confirmations to happen. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash, it happens right away, right? So the advantage is that they wanted to implement those core changes to Bitcoin, but they were unsuccessful, so they had to fork and create Bitcoin Cash. Right? And there's two Bitcoin Cashes, one with the difference that they're both competing. It's a bigger, longer story, but anyways, Bitcoin Cash has its advantages and certain features that they couldn't implement in Bitcoin yet, which is the block size and the speed of the transaction settling from a merchant side. So those features make it novel, right? And there's a big push behind Bitcoin Cash, believe it or not, heavy mining. But still, you got Bitcoin up here and you got everything else kind of curved down. Like he said, most of them are worthless coins, but the top 100 are contenders. And then there's some that are not even in the market. Like, for example, Amazon has yet to announce what they're going to be doing. We don't know. Eventually these big enterprises are going to be like, we have a coin. Look at JP Morgan. They have a JP Morgan token, which is essentially
Facebook.
well, no, but JP Morgan token is legitimately released into the market through the JP Morgan branches of banks, right? So they adopted blockchain differently, but it's basically a private coin. It's a stable coin, but it's a private coin, right? So there might be other private coins that come into the market that might totally, compete with decentralized coin in a way that might be interesting. We don't know, but the big players are yet to come in for sure. But they have adoption for blockchain, so they're constantly working on it and coming up with patents on what's going to come out. But we're at that infancy. We're at that point where things are yet to happen.
What are the chances that the Fed and his peers are going to allow
The Feds?
private, the Federal Reserve?
Yeah.
So why would they allow us to actually create money, not them? What are the chances that they will allow that to happen?
Yeah, so this is probably going to be the last question, so we let everybody kind of mingle, but I think that the short answer to something like that would be that cryptocurrency exists for that main reason, because cryptocurrency thrives in a market where you have collapse. So if the government says cryptocurrency is illegal, then cryptocurrency thrives. It increases in value because that's the purpose. There's no way to control cryptocurrency from a government standpoint or many government standpoint. You could have many countries come together and say we're banning crypto, and in fact there's no way to shut it off because it works through a mining node infrastructure all over the world. So you would literally have to get one internet cable and cut it and be like, there's no more internet. That's the only way to kill it. That's the answer. My answer, at least.
All right, so that was the last question. Before we wrap it up, the discount code for the thing for 50% off is disrupt. Just go to www.miningdisrupt.com and type in disrupt as a promo code. You get 50% off. We're going to be raffling away some free tickets just to show our appreciation that you guys came here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Fernando's going to walk around, give around our business card. It's going to have our Telegram group on there, and you can join and then be a part of this community that's growing globally. And then sometimes it's not active, sometimes it is active, but our events in person is very active, as you can see. But feel free to ask questions, post to us. We always have interesting people. Sometimes celebrities post in there, but that's another story. But yeah, feel free to mingle. We'll be staying here a little bit to talk, any questions. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We have food coming, and that's pretty much it. All right, thanks, guys.